Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun. The topic we'll be looking at tonight is HR through the C-suite lens, aligning people strategies with executive priorities. Our facilitator is one of the core team members of HR Mentorship. She is Faith Joshua Shitu. She's an HR generalist with Mayport Oil and Gas Limited. Faith is a dynamic and detailed-oriented HR professional with over 7 years of cross-functional experience spanning human resources, administration, finance, and auditing, primarily within the oil and gas downstream sector. Ladies and gentlemen, she drives organizational growth by aligning HR strategies with business goals, optimizing people processes, and fostering a culture of performance and accountability. Faith is currently pursuing a master's in international Human Resource Management at Rome Business School, Nigeria. She's also an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. Our core strengths include strategic planning, stakeholder engagement, process organization, and team development. Beyond the workplace, Faith is passionate about empowering others. She shares career and personal growth insight to inspire young professionals and women to thrive in their respective field. Speaking to us on the topic, HR through the C-suite lens, aligning people's strategies with executive priorities. I present to us Faith Joshua Shitu. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Yemi. I'm very grateful for the opportunity this evening. Thank you so much, sir, for this privilege to anchor this meeting. I do not take it for granted. So I'll dive right into our session for tonight. I just want to confirm again that we can all hear me. If you could just send me a message so that I can confirm that you can hear me. Please, can you hear me? Please, can you hear me? Am I muted? I'm muted.
Madam,
can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. No need to try and confirm again. Just continue. We can hear you, ma. Hello, ma. We can hear you. Hello, Faith.
Okay, thank you so much. So our topic this evening is HR through the C-suite lens, aligning people's strategies with executive priorities. And I believe that is a very crucial topic at this time for us to look at. While this is not a new topic, it's not a new discussion, it's not a new conversation. This is like an ongoing conversation in the HR space. I believe it's something we should still continue to talk about. And that is why we are having this conversation this evening. A table of contents for tonight, we have our introduction, the levels of HR engagement, C-suite perception of HR, two perspectives, C-suite perception of HR, key statistics, what do the C-suite truly expect from HR, the business impact of alignment, the language barrier, the cost of misalignment, signs of misalignment, building business acumen, building strategic partnerships, understanding the organization stage, moving forward, and then our final words. This is what our content will be tonight. And by way of introduction, like I said before, this has been an ongoing conversation. We've over time seen the challenge of misalignment between the C-suite executives, talk about the CEO, talk about the business owners, the business leaders, and HR professionals, whether in a one-man owned business, especially in our climb in the Nigerian business space where we have many one-man owned businesses. We've continued to see that there is some sort of alignment gap, and this has continued to hamper on the impact that HR actually plays in an organization. And so in this presentation, we're going to be delving into the common disconnect that emerge when business priorities and people's strategies diverge. And we're going to be offering both validation of our HR experiences and actionable solution. The truth is, as HR professionals, we are doing a lot, but we have also still seen that there seems to be some sort of disconnect in how management or business owners, business leaders, perceive the impact that we make as HR professionals. And so we face this unique challenge in translating our expertise into language and outcomes that resonate with business owners. So in the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes, we want to explore how to bridge this gap effectively, how to elevate our strategic influence and business impact as HR professionals. So I welcome you to join me as we dive deep into this topic tonight. I shared a quote here, a quote by Donald Knight, the Chief People Officer at Greenhouse. And what did he say? He said, connecting with the C-suite is like a well-choreographed dance. We need to find common ground, talk their language, but also infuse our unique HR insights. It's a tango of data, strategy, and heart. And I love this quote so much. Well, I'm not much of a dancer, but I've seen choreographers, dancers, in groups, how that they're able to synergize and bring out the beauty in the dance. Irrespective of how well individually they can dance, they're being able to synergize in the course of that dance session, just brings out the beauty in whatever form of dance they are trying to portray. And so as HR people, it's as though we're in a tango. We're trying to, synergize. We're trying to create some sort of dance, and we need to be able to find a common ground. We need to be able to, speak their language, and that is the whole essence of the conversation that we are having tonight. And we're going to start this conversation by looking at the levels of HR engagement, the levels that we engage as HR people. I highlighted 3 levels in the course of this presentation, and the first is the administrative level, and this is the level that everyone at least has passed through, whether you are a senior HR leader or you are a young HR professional like myself. The administrative level is one part of HR that we all have played in or we are currently all playing in. And at this level, what do? We're looking at record keeping, we're looking at paperwork, we're looking at payroll, we're looking at employee benefits, we're trying to handle basic compliances with tax authorities, with the regulatory bodies, NSITF, ITF, and many other bodies that regulate the HR profession, as the case may be, especially here in Nigeria. We're looking at legal related tasks. And at this level, it looks like a repetition, a routine. These are the things that we do almost like every now and then. And then the next level that we engage as HR professionals is the tactical level. And at this level, what are we looking at? What are we doing? We're looking at employee engagement. We are looking at how our employees are engaged on the job. We're looking at how to solve critical problems that arise on a day-to-day basis. We're solving conflict-related issues in the workplace. We're trying to create a sort of balance between employees such that, issues arising from the corporate organization, from probably relationships with their peers, or even as it has to do with the business as a whole. We're also collaborating with other stakeholders, other units, other departments. We're trying to see how to solve their HR problems. At this level, we're also trying to execute new initiatives. We are trying to, look for ways to make the organization better. We're implementing company policies, and we're trying to ensure that the organization is such a place that helps the organization meet its corporate goals using its people. And at the last level, which is the strategic level, we're forecasting and making long-term plans. At this level, we're trying to see how to work with management in terms of the HR, in terms of the human resource, how to ensure that there are no gaps in the system, how to ensure that the human resource needs of the organization are properly planned for. So we're thinking long term. We're not just thinking the next 1 month, the next 2 months. We're looking at where is this organization in the next couple of years? How do we position? What are the manpower needs that will be arising in those periods as the business begins to expand and progress? Also at the strategic level, we're looking at leadership development. How do we develop our leaders? How do we develop our managers? How do we develop our business owners? We are not just narrowing it down to the employees. We're also considering the employers. How do we develop leadership such that there is business continuity, so that there is appropriate succession planning, as the case may be. And then at this level, we're shaping company culture. We're looking at what is the culture of this organization. How is the culture? How do the external world perceive our internal culture? How are the people working for this organization? How do they perceive our culture? And the people working in my organization, for instance, can they refer their friends, their colleagues, people around them to work with us? Business risk management. From the HR angle, we're looking at the that for some of us who work in one-man organizations, right? We work with businesses that are owned by individuals, and the conversations are different, right? But generally looking at it, both for those of us that work in multinationals, bigger corporations, there are two perspectives. There are two ways that the C-suite perceives us as HR people. And to start with, HR is perceived as a culture builder and the employee engagement champion. And this is good. This is a good perception because they see that without us, the culture of the organization would be at stake. Without the HR professionals, without the HR leaders, without the role that HR play, it shows that they see our impact. But on the flip side of them perceiving us as culture builders and as employee engagement champion is the fact that they see us as reactive and not strategic. Oh, they're like, oh, HR, you only work on ideas or you only take instructions rather than come up with innovative ways to position the organization in terms of its human resource, right? So these are like the good and the bad. And HR, they also see us as HR people support compliance and reduces legal risk. My own boss personally used to say, don't even come and start quoting labor law. They believe that we are the labor law champions. We are the ones to tell them that labor law does not accept this. This is not acceptable. Legally, this is going to pose a risk to the business. And it is good. It shows that as HR people, our impact is being felt. Can you hear me? I'm still seeing that my audio is okay. I think you can hear me now. Okay. So on the flip side of this, the fact that they see us as compliant, pushing for compliance, trying to reduce legal risk, is that they see us as people that focuses on just policies and not on business results. So they see us as people that come to work every day, or that people that dedicate our time and effort in creating policies, but not on the business goals. And this is why this conversation we are having tonight is very important, right? And then on the good side, again, they see us as we champion people-related administrative needs that enable focus on business growth, right? So we are ensuring that everything relating to human resource in the organization is seamless. And by ensuring that every administrative related needs is seamless, it means that the bottom line, which is the business growth, is being impacted. But on the flip side of this, of them seeing us as, enabling and solving HR administrative needs, is that they see us as people that do not understand the language of the business. We don't understand business performance. We don't understand commercial goals, right? So as we continue in tonight's conversation, you want to begin to ask yourself as an HR person, and based off on where you currently work, how does my management, perceive me? How does my CEO, my MD, for those of us that have directors, that have other executives work with us, you want to begin to ask yourself, how do they perceive my role, in this business? How does my role impact on the business? And how do how do these business leaders perceive my impact? Lastly, HR is the talent management expert that ensures prompt recruitment and business continuity. I've always heard this, that the HR's job is easy. What do HR even do? Is it not just to recruit and ensure that, people are in the right, there is no lack of staff where necessary, And that is just to water down what we do as HR people, but it is to tell us that the impact that we make on the business is still not being felt as it should be. And on the flip side of seeing us as talent managers, people that ensure that there are no gaps in the system, ensuring that there is business continuity, is that they see us as people that tell management what is impossible, what cannot be done, rather than telling them what can be done, rather than partnering with them, to create results in the business. And so we'll move forward to key statistics on how C-suite perceives HR. And these are global statistics, right? So insights from a personal survey of 2,000 executives in 2023 reveals how HR is perceived in the C-suite. And it is also in the positive as well as in the negative. So for the positive, let's look at what this survey report said in 2023. It says 70% of the C-suite executives that were surveyed believe the HR will be more important to the business in future. And this is good because HR has actually come to stay. The HR role in every business organization has come to stay. And if 70% of C-suite leaders believe that our role will be relevant to the business in the future, it means that we are making an impact, right? 63% perceive that the HR serves value as strategic partner. And this is also good, above average. It shows that really they see that we are strategic partners. We are not just performing administrative tasks. Even though we do that, we are not just at the tactical level. They are seeing us as strategic partners. They are seeing us as business leaders, thought leaders, people that they can consult with, in driving the business forward. And I feel that this is good for us as HR people. 40% believe that the HR should be used as an ongoing strategic partner, meaning that 40% is saying that let HR never be left out at the table, right? When we have strategy meetings, when we're thinking of how to move the organization forward, when we're having, C-suite meetings, they are saying that HR should be part of this ongoing discourse. And this is also good for us. Now, on the flip side, we have 63% who would like to have more understanding of what the HR does. And I feel that this is where the work is, right? Our leaders, our business owners, our employers, our CEOs, MDs, they would like to know and understand more what the HR does. And this is significant because if we don't tell them or if we don't show them what we do, they would not know what we do. They would just generalize us as, oh, they are just those people that recruit, or they are just those people like we read in the previous slide. They are just here to fight for employees, as a lot of those perceptions that we have. And then 50% say their HR isn't very involved in business strategy. And this is also something that we need to pay attention to, critical attention, because if business leaders feel that or perceive that we are not involved in business strategy, then there is a problem. There's already a disconnect. How do we partner with business organizations if we are not involved in the business strategy, if we're not understanding if we don't understand what the business goals are, if we don't understand where we are going as an organization, right? And then 53% say they don't get enough input and advice from HR. And what would be my advice here is that we need to contribute more as HR people, right? We should not just be the passive HRs that receive instructions and directions. We should be those HR that, put the leaders on their toes. And I believe that many times this is one of the reasons why we are employed as HR people. So what do the C-suite really expect from HR? What do they really expect from you and I as HR people? The first is that they expect us to articulate the business value. From the previous slide, we saw that a percentage of C-suite leaders do not even understand what we do as HR people, right? So C-suite expect HR professionals to clearly communicate the impact of their initiatives on business outcomes using data and metrics to demonstrate their value. So they want to see the impact that we make. They want us to be able to articulate in clear terms how our initiatives, our policies, the different things that we do as HR people, how it is impacting on the business, right? And then the next is that the C-suite expect us to engage with them. They want us to engage with them. They don't want a reactive HR. They want HR that are proactive. So they want HR that is proactively engaging with C-suite to understand their business objectives and priorities and how HR can contribute to achieving those goals. So HR should be able to call for meetings with C-suite. You should be able to call for meetings with your boss. If as an HR, you don't know the direction that your organization is going, the business leader, your CEO expects that you are able to call him or her and say, sir, or whatever the case may be, however you address your leader in your organization. What is the direction of this business? How does HR come in? How do we, they expect that we engage with them. We don't wait for them to invite us into the room. Rather, we initiate those conversations, we initiate those discussions. And the last thing I captured here is that they want us to focus on strategic initiatives. They want us to prioritize HR initiatives that directly support the organization's strategic objectives, such as talent acquisition, development, and retention. Every business leader wants the business to continue to thrive against all odds and in every season. So they want us to focus on strategic initiatives. And that is why there has to be an alignment. There has to be a correlation between our initiatives and what the business actually needs. I just want to check again that we are still together. Please, if you are following, I don't mind you sending a message or something just to be sure that we're still together. Okay, thank you so much. So next, we're looking at the business impact of alignment. So when we align as HR people, when we align with our business leaders, how does it impact on the business? How does it affect the business? What problems does it solve? The first is that when there is alignment between us as HR people and business leaders, the first is that it leads to productivity and innovation. When HR and the C-suite are aligned, they can work together to create a culture that fosters innovation and high performance. And I believe that as HR people, this is what we want. We want to drive productivity. We want to drive innovation. We want a culture. We want to be able to build a culture, that fosters innovation and high performance. And that is why we're having this conversation tonight, so that we can begin to look at ways to drive alignment in our different organizations. The next business impact is it boosts competitive advantage. So when we align on, say, talent management strategies, for instance, the HR and C-suite can ensure that the organization attracts, develops, and retains top talents, right? There has to be that alignment. Sometimes you see job posts, for instance, and the salary expectation is low, and some of us react and we're like, with this kind of salary, who are you going to attract, right? So as HR people, we want to align with management. We need them to understand what the market is like, attracting the best talents. And they also need to understand us, right? So basically, we need to, when there is that alignment, it makes our work seamless as HR people. And lastly, it enhances compliance and risk management. When they understand compliance issues, for instance, when we align on workplace culture, when we align on policies, for instance, what does it do? It reduces legal and reputational risk. There won't be a case of, oh, we are sued by so employee, we're sued by this regulatory body came to shut down our office because we refused to pay remittances or what have you. Some of the issues that we have today as HR people. So now we are going deeper into the critical issue of tonight, right? We have identified that there is a way they see us, the good side, the not so good side that needs to be improved upon. But we see that there is a language barrier, right? We are speaking a language as HR people, or we are speaking the HR language, but C-suite leaders, your CEO, your MD, your director, as the case may be, doesn't understand what you're saying because their own language is different. It's like a Yoruba man and an Igbo man talking to themselves. One is speaking Yoruba, one is speaking Igbo, and they don't understand the language of the other person. There will be an issue because the Yoruba person will not understand what the Igbo person is saying, and vice versa. And so there is a language barrier between us as HR people and C-suite leaders. HR professionals and executives often speak fundamentally different languages. We are discussing engagement, employee development, we are talking about cultural initiatives, while executives are focusing on market share. I once had a boss who, whenever you come with a requisition for any HR initiative or anything relating to employee, the next question is asking is, how are we going to make this money to spend on this initiative, right? So, and the executives are focusing on market shares, they are focusing on revenue growth, they are focusing on competitive advantage. And so this creates a translation problem where valuable HR insights get lost in communication. And let me stress this here, that our role as HR people is not as though we do not care for the market share, we do not care for the revenue growth or the competitive advantage or achieving the business goals. Of course, every of our initiatives, every of the things we do is geared towards, projecting the organization towards achieving its goals and objectives. But there is a translation problem, right? Studies show that executive level decisions are influenced by data present in financial terms 3.4 times more frequently than when presented using HR terminology or HR jargons. Of course, sometimes we want to sound like professionals, so we use our HR terms, terminologies, and all of that. But what we've seen is that your boss doesn't understand what you're saying. My boss doesn't understand what I'm saying because I'm basically just speaking my language as an HR person. I'm basically speaking Yoruba when my boss is probably Igbo. I'm just trying to paint that scenario again. So simply reframing your communication can dramatically increase your influence and resource allocation. And I've witnessed this firsthand, how that people are not able to communicate, how that HR people are not able to communicate what they actually need. And so the resource allocation that should ordinarily go to the HR is not going there because there is a distortion, there is a disconnect in how we are communicating. And so we must have bilingual capabilities, right? We must be able to speak our language and we must be able to speak the executive's language. So for instance, the HR talks about employee engagement, while the executive is talking about productivity metrics. And we're basically saying the same thing, just that we're speaking again Yoruba and the executive is speaking Igbo. Well, we're saying the same thing. Well, as far as another example is, we're talking about organizational development. The executive is talking about revenue per employee. We're saying succession planning. The business leaders are saying business continuity, for instance. We're saying learning culture. The executives are saying innovation. We're saying talent management. They are saying intellectual capital. So basically, we're saying the same thing, but there is a distortion. They do not understand us, or they do not understand what we're saying. So I gave a few examples here on translation examples. Say, for instance, you want to say, we reduced turnover, right? Which we all strive to do. We are all striving to reduce turnover, especially in these critical times where employee can come in today and tomorrow they are telling you they are no more working with you. And then as an HR person, you've been able to successfully reduce turnover. But when you say that, they don't see the impact, right? But when you say, for instance, we saved $420,000 because we cut down on recruitment, for instance, they are able to put numbers to what the HR has done. Or when you say turnover rate is 10%, compared to when you say turnover is costing us, say, 7 million annually, reducing it to 5% will save us 2.5 million. Say, let's say you are pushing for, let's increase salaries, or let's increase initiatives that would help to cut down on employee turnover. When you're able to put numbers, add what is being lost, what is being gained, or the business impact, it's easier for HR initiatives to gain more ground. It's easier for HR to get more allocation. So I'm going to go to the next slide, which is the cost of misalignment. Again, we're looking at how misalignment is costing us as business people, as HR people, and then as a business generally. But because this conversation tonight is for us as HR people, we're sort of focusing on us, right? So we're looking at the global cost. A report shows that low employee engagement decreases business outcomes so substantially that it costs the global economy $8.9 trillion annually, or 9% of the global GDP. This might look like, it doesn't really concern me. It concerns us because yes, we might not be able to equate how much it's costing us as of now, but it's a conversation. It's something that we must begin to look at. How is misalignment costing my business? So this is a global report telling us how much misalignment is costing the global business space, global economy. And we see that 61% of workers are satisfied with their current roles. Employee surveys finds that current HR and corporate initiatives don't meet their needs. Then we see 82% of employees look for a new job in the past 12 to 18 months. I'm sure many of us also as HR people, we looked for a new job or we're looking for new jobs as the case may be, citing pay, culture, and motivation as top challenges, right? And so a significant question that we must begin to ask as HR professionals is, how much is misalignment costing my organization? Now, whether it is anybody's fault, we are not talking about who is at fault here. We are saying as HR people, we need to do better. So we're looking at a few case studies before we look at how to move forward from where we are, right, in this misalignment case. So the first case study is Honeywell Flour Mill. Of course, Honeywell Flour Mills in 2014, the founder and then Mr. Tunde Odunayo, who founded the organization, was retiring. But his departure from the organization sent the company to a leadership tailspin that eventually led to the demise of the company in 2021. What was the problem? The problem is that his retirement in 2014 exposed a weak succession plan and HR's lack of strategic alignment with executive leadership needs. HR failed to groom a leadership pipeline or ensure continuity of the organization culture he fostered. This was the problem, right? And we see that the cost and the impact at the time, after that, there was this misalignment, there was no succession plan. Honeywell Flour Mills entered a leadership crisis that was marked by strategic drift and operational inefficiencies. This contributed to a gradual decline in performance, culminating in the company's acquisition by Flour Mills of Nigeria in 2021. So today, of course, we know that a larger percentage of the company is owned by Flour Mills of Nigeria. Why? Because there was a lack of there was a misalignment. There was no alignment. If the business owner or the MD or what have you was going to retire, there should have been a training pipeline, of course, a succession plan in place. So what is the lesson? What can we learn from this as HR people? For founder-led companies, HR must proactively develop robust succession planning, leadership continuity strategies, and cultural integration. Founder exits without HR-driven stabilization mechanisms can erode decades of growth. And this case study is dear to my heart because we have many owner-managed businesses where it seems like it is only the CEO that knows what goes on or what is happening. And anything happens to the CEO, for some organizations, if the CEO travels out of the country, for instance, it looks like everything is on a standstill if he's unreachable. And so as HR people, we must begin to think, how do we move forward from here? How do we position the organization in such a way that there is continuity? And this is just a case study, right? We have another case study, and this is the case of Uber. In 2017, around 2017, they had a serious issue. Their growth was marked by toxic work environments that led to investigations and significant leadership changes. It illustrates the consequences of a disconnect between HR and leadership regarding workplace culture. So they had workplace culture issues, there were harassment cases, cases that were being reported but were not being handled, it looked like those high up could not be cautioned or called to order. And these were the problems. The problem is that Uber neglected HR as a strategic function. There was a culture of unchecked leadership, which led to misconduct and employee distrust rather. How did it cost the business? The cultural crisis led to significant financial and reputational costs, an estimated $511.4 million. The company spent millions on, they had to do a lot of internal investigation, they had to pay a lot of legal fees, consultants here and there, pay a lot of settlements. It also saw the resignation of its founder and CEO at the time because there were a lot of, issues around, he didn't do what he's supposed to do and all of that. They faced investor backlash and they suffered a damaged employer brand, impacting talent attraction. We are glad they are back, but, this is a significant case of misalignment between HR and C-suite, or a case where the HR is not giving wings to fly. Permit me to use that term, giving wings to fly. HR cannot do anything, HR is stranded. And what is the lesson? HR must be embedded in shaping culture, enforcing ethics, and protecting employees, right? Startups must scale HR alongside growth to avoid cultural collapse. So as organizations are growing, as HR people, we must begin to grow with them. I'm beginning to rush so that I can round up. So we have another case study. Eminite Nigeria Limited, they have poor implementation of strategic HR policies. They had cases of executive interference in hiring, which compromised meritocracy. They had inadequate pay that led to low morale and high turnover. They lacked retirement planning, which heightened job insecurity. How did it cost the business? These gaps caused operational inefficiencies because there were Eminite Nigeria Limited is a manufacturing company, so they had a lot of people that were coming in and going out, and this affected productivity. Their HR practices, which were poor, led to increased labor turnover, causing the company to incur additional costs in recruiting and training new employees. And many of us are there, or we are here currently today as HR people. We are incurring a lot of costs because people are not staying. Of course, we know that there is a great shift, people wanting to change up for whatever reasons, but we're saying that let those reasons not be misalignment reasons. Let the reasons why people are leaving our organization not be misalignment reasons. And then the lesson, by addressing the misalignment, HR executive leadership at Eminite Nigeria Limited was able to improve its operational efficiency and employee satisfaction. And then the last case study we're looking at is Amazon. Amazon has also faced challenges with employee burnout due to misaligned resource planning. They had to invest in improved working conditions and initiatives to address this issue. What was the problem? In the case of Amazon, they struggled with high level of employee burnout, largely due to misaligned resource planning and intense work demands, right? And what did this cost them? Cost them quite a lot. This led to widespread criticism, it decreased morale, it increased turnover, particularly in its warehouse operations. To combat this, they were compelled to invest heavily in improved working conditions, mental health support programs, a lot of initiative, wellness initiative, operational process review, and they have made a significant financial commitment, an estimated 10 billion to address these issues, which they are still addressing, coming up with new initiatives every day to ensure that it's a great place to work. So the lesson here, sorry, the lesson is that workforce well-being must be proactively managed. Ignoring it leads to reputational and financial risk. We'll look at the signs of misalignment. The first is lack of strategic integration. And we've talked about this even in the course of the previous slides. So I'll just rush through it. There's lack of strategic integration. There is employee disengagement. Many of us can see all of this in our organizations. There's lack of strategic integration, there's employee disengagement, and there's isolation between the HR and other departments. When the HR is not collaborating with other departments, then there is a problem. It shows that there is a misalignment, because how do you know the challenges, the needs of the different people that we are meant to be providing solutions from if we're isolated, right? Or when the HR does not understand the product of the organization, you don't know what the organization does, you don't know how the organization makes money. And so we're jumping right into how to move forward from here. What do we do to position ourselves better and to align properly with management? The first is building business acumen, building your business acumen. And how do we do this? What areas of business acumen do we need to build? We have financial literacy. You should be able to understand profit and loss statements. I know some of us HR professionals, we might not be numbers people, right? But as an HR person, you must learn that skill. You must be able to understand profit and loss statement, balance sheets, cash flow, key financial ratios. When you're in corporate meetings and they're talking numbers, it's not okay that you're looking lost as an HR person. I know some of us are there, but we have to move from there. You can't be looking lost. You can't be looking confused, like you don't know what they are saying. So you must build financial literacy. The next is that you must build market intelligence. You want to understand who are the competitors of my organization. What are they doing differently? What are the customer needs? You know, what are the industry disruption? The industry that my organization plays in, what is happening around, right? And then you connect these factors to workforce implication and talent strategies. Then you are looking at how to build strategic thinking. You want to develop the ability to connect HR initiatives to long-term business goals. You want to anticipate future talent needs and proactively address emerging challenges. And then lastly, you are growing your operational knowledge. You are looking at how the business creates and deliver value. I know some of us as HR people might not be operations people, but you have to learn it. You have to collaborate with the people in the operations, people in sales, people in marketing. You want to know, what do our business, what does my organization do? You want to understand workflows, you want to understand bottlenecks, you want to understand how HR practices affect operational efficiency. And that the next thing we want to pay attention to as we begin to close this alignment, this misalignment or the alignment gap, is that we want to begin to build strategic partnerships, right, within our organizations. We want to look at who are the stakeholders, who are the important people in my organization. This relationship will provide informal opportunities to understand the priorities. You'll be able to explain HR perspectives and develop mutual trust before formal decisions are required. You want to collaborate beyond the formal meetings, right? Who are the stakeholders? And so you want to identify the executives that are most influential in the organization. The first place I worked as a support staff when I was, as I started to build my career, I would have business managers that would meet other managers, telling them, oh, these are the challenges I'm having in my unit, how to present them to management. Why? Because they saw these other managers as people that could speak for them in meetings. And so as HR people, you want to look at who are the influential people in your organization, who are the key decision makers, and how do you begin to interface with them. You want to begin to schedule regular conversations with them, understand what they do, understand the challenges, ask questions around the issues that they are having, and then don't just push your HR initiatives at them. See how your HR initiatives can actually help the challenges that they are facing in their different units. And then as trust develops, these executives, they become your advocates. They are the ones who will begin to help translate HR initiatives to other leaders in the organization. So how do we build strategic relationships or partnerships? You want to listen first, right? You don't want to just come up with ideas or solutions, or you want to listen. What are their problems? Like I said before, ask open-ended questions about business challenges, priorities, and success metrics. Then you want to go onward to business immersion. Spend time working in or closely observing frontline functions. Don't just sit in your office as an HR person. Observe what they do. If your organization has a warehouse, for instance, or has a factory, for instance, don't just sit in your office. Take some days, work with them, look at what they do. How does the work flow? Understand how they create and deliver value. Then executive shadowing. Arrange to observe key executives. Observe what their typical work days like, understand their challenge, attend meetings. Don't just narrow down to I'm just HR. No, participate in other activities within the organization so that you can feel firsthand what their pulse is like. And then lastly, reverse mentoring. Establish two-way learning. So now at this point, you are helping them understand what you do as an HR person. Beyond understanding them, you also want them to understand you. And the last tip to help us align with CEOs, MDs, business leaders, C-suite, as the case may be, is understanding the stage of your organization. Don't just come with requisition, need, initiative. Where is your organization currently playing? So understanding the stage of your organization is a game changer for any professional, any HR professional. It helps you align your strategies, systems, and initiatives with the real needs of the business. Excuse me. When you talk in terms of business growth, market positioning, or scalability, and tie HR strategies to this, it builds credibility. And so there are a few organization stages that I shared here. So for startup, for instance, what is the focus of the business? They are basically at this level trying to survive and fit into the market. And at this level, what is the HR strategic goal? You are trying to build from the scratch. You are trying to develop the culture, right? You are trying to set what the foundational culture looks like. For the next business stage is the growth stage. So after they've started at about 5 years, they are growing. So what is the business focus? They are scaling their teams and their systems. So at this level, at HR, you are creating structures, you are trying to introduce automation and all of that. And then the next stage is the maturity stage. The organization has grown and is maturing. At this level, what is the focus of the business? Optimization, employee retention. And at this level, what does HR want to focus on? We want to focus on deepening leadership alignment, aligning performance and strategy. And then at the final stage that I listed here is transition or decline stage. At this stage, they are looking at reinvention or cost management. And as HR, you are looking at how to lead change, moral support, and restructuring. Right? So moving forward, how do we move forward from here as HR people? We must begin to think like business leaders. We must begin to offer people solutions that solve real business pain. The second is that we must begin to use data to drive decisions. We must present insights, not just updates. We must begin to predict talent gaps before they become crises. Then at the next thing is we want to begin to drive shared goals. We must understand business goals and link them to HR processes and initiatives. The fourth is that we want to understand the organization state, like I said before. You can't apply HR in a vacuum. People's strategies must evolve with the business. So you are not just coming up with initiatives. You are coming up with initiatives that align with the business, that solves the business need at every stage that the business is. And lastly, you want to foster collaboration. You don't want to operate in isolation from the business. And then my final words as I wrap up this training, as our role as HR continues to evolve, we must also learn to evolve with it, right? We must become more proactive and less reactive. We must contribute our voice more as we listen for the heartbeat and understand the real business issues. Every organization is unique, so must our approach be unique and tailored to solving the unique challenges. And then we must learn to collaborate more, especially those of us that are young HRs. Let's ask more questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Yemi. Thank you everyone for being a part of this class, part of this webinar tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Faith. That was beautiful. That was excellent. Great presentation. If we have any comments or questions or contributions with respect to this particular subject matter, please let's quickly raise our hands so that we can recognize us and so that we can make our contributions. On the alternative, if you also want to use the chat, please do so quickly so that we can read your comments or your questions or contributions as the case may be. This has been excellent learning, great session. Thank you so much, Faith. Well done. I'm checking to see if there are any hands up. I see people sending in their appreciation. Fantastic. Let me check, apart from appreciation, if there are any specific comments or questions. Okay, that's also a very great way to end today's session. You know how we do it. I'd like to allow us to unmute so that we can express our gratitude to our facilitator, Faith Joshua Shitu. Please, let's thank her. Let us show our appreciation as we wrap up this session tonight. Thank you so much, Faith.
Thank you.
Well done, ma'am. Good
Thank
job.
you, Faith. Thank you so much. This was a great
Very
one.
much.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.